Today, we preview the Tony Bennett-led 2024-25 Who's. What will transfer point guard Jalen Warley bring to the table? Can we just make it till Chance Mallory shows up next year? Wait a minute. What? Jay, we need a new script. Welcome to 24-25 season, folks. Let's discuss what we do know on the Cavalier Connection now. Welcome into another edition of the Cavalier Connection podcast. I feel like our last multiple podcasts we've had, it's just somber news. Somber news. So before we get started, well, real quick, I'm Jeff. I'm your host tonight, joined by Jay. How are you doing tonight, Jay?
Aside from my UVA sports news today, I'm doing well. But other, I'm just thinking about the next time I can go to Mincer's. That's all I'm thinking about.
Yeah, I'm with you. If the team's not doing so hot, we still can at least look hot. I know that hat. Where'd that hat come from, Jay?
This hat came from Mincer's.
They've got.
I ordered it offline from Mincers.com.
How many locations do they have in Charlottesville?
2 locations in Charlottesville. We prefer the one that's right down close to the stadium that you can walk to.
And so outside that store, what do they have out there?
A lot of times you find ridiculous, great orange tag sales racks with just stuff, Virginia stuff on the racks, reduced prices.
When you go into the store, quick question for you. Are you expecting to save some money?
Absolutely.
Yes, no doubt. What do you, and listen, this is just Q&A, little trivia.
Yeah.
Let's see what Jay's knowledge is. What year?
We didn't talk about this beforehand. I'm a little bit nervous, but go ahead.
What year? Can you tell me what year Mincer's got their start?
And Mincer's been around longer than my parents, and my dad's 72. Mincer's 1948. Am I correct in that?
Correct. And look, same year that my dad was born. So my dad and Mincer's have that in common. And there's something else we all have in common with Mincer's. We're UVA fans. They support the UVA community with great sportswear. If you're looking for great sportswear, go to Mincer's. They provide high quality, stylish, and durable apparel for all game days. It's football season. We got a bye week this coming up week, but following week, we got 4 games left.
And hey, next week we got the basketball opener, which is this episode, one of my favorite episodes we do, Jeff. The preview episode for the basketball season.
Preview for basketball. It's exciting stuff. So go get yourself a hat, get yourself a sweatshirt, a hoodie, something to wear into the arena. And then, when Virginia comes back home in November, SMU, it's going to be cold out. So you're definitely going to need that hoodie then. And then when you're there, check out those orange tag sales that Jay was just talking about. Just outside the store, there's always racks and racks of great sales. And there's some special sales that'll be coming up for Halloween that we'll be posting out once we get to Halloween. But just join the Mincer's family tradition and gear up with them today. Mincer's UVA Sportswear, where your school spirit meets style. Like that stylish hat Jay's wearing. Basketball, man. Those are the positives. Basketball. Times are changing. Jay, I'm reading the intro here. I'm like, wait a minute. Tony Bennett. No, Tony Bennett. Now we
That
got
would have been something, wouldn't it? The script. I mean, this would have been an easy episode. Just roll it out. We can talk Virginia basketball, Tony. Pack line. How fast what's the pace of play going to be? All these questions. But now it's like the program has been just blown up, and not really. It could have been blown up even bigger. But
no,
at least by having Sanchez on staff, and he's a disciple of Bennett, you kind of know what you're going to get. But interim tags versus naming him as the head coach. But anyway, I'm gonna let you lead the episode because I know you got the rundown.
No. It could be much worse. But and of course we are Tony Bennett diehard fans. Understand why he left the program, but he's definitely left us in a pickle.
For sure.
It's a tough situation. And
it would be better for the program had he left in March.
Yes. I wish he'd have went ahead and made that decision. And the program may have had that blow up that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
But we'd have started the preparation, and then we'd have had to hit the portal, and maybe you have a year or two. But now,
right? Well, I don't even believe that, Jeff, because if you get the right coach in today's NCAA environment with transfers, you can hit home run after home run in the transfer portal, and you bring in the right guy that they want to play for. And from everything we've heard, we're competitive with the NIL and basketball. You can totally remake a roster in a year. And we kind of did remake this roster.
We did remake the roster. For this season. So today, as we're recording this, the news broke earlier today. Jalen Warley has entered the transfer portal, 6'7" point guard who just transferred in from Florida State. So thoughts on that that move by Jalen Warley and how that's going to affect the team, Jay?
Yeah, I think, somebody had posted on X, I'll never forget Jalen Warley's performance in the blue-white game. But, wishing West the best of luck in his future endeavors. I hope he finds somewhere. You want people that are all in. And so, obviously, he wanted to play for Coach Bennett. That's no longer on the table. My guess is he probably wasn't going to get the minutes that he came to Virginia wanting. If you remember, he was the first domino to fall. And as far as for us, he was the first guy we brought in through the portal. And he probably was thinking, I've got unlimited minutes right now. Nobody's choosing Virginia in the portal. But then you had a bunch of guys, including Day come. You got Bliss, redshirt year behind him. He's ready to participate and hopefully contribute. And I think Warley would have been a good piece for us. I think he'd have played a major role, but maybe he was looking for more. And hey, again, when somebody leaves, it just opens up another opportunity. Day's a sophomore. Bliss is a first year. So I'm excited. Honestly, he was a 14% 3-point shooter, I think, last year. We've seen guys that can't shoot, and it's not fun to watch. I don't care what level of defense you can play. When you're that bad of a shooter, it's hard to watch. I mean, they would totally drape down off of him and just bog down the entire offense. So, I mean, again, I know he would have helped us on the defensive end, and he'd have helped us, probably with distribution, but it's not like, to me, I'm not going to say it's a plus, but for the role he was looking for and what we could offer, I think it probably just was best for him to move on.
Yeah, I don't blame him. He's on a red shirt this year, and then wherever he goes, and then play next year is what he said. And he'll go somewhere and get the minutes, I guess, that he's wanting. I know that Coach Sanchez said there's no red shirts on the table.
Right.
And so I think they were going to split those point guard minutes up pretty good because you hear a lot of good things about Christian Bliss, and we have high hopes for Day Ames. So, and the thing is, with him being freshman and sophomore, how do you get better? You play.
You got to play.
And so getting those guys that playing experience, and if we're fortunate enough to let Sanchez is successful, then you're developing players for the future. Now, if Sanchez is not successful, then all bets are off, and a lot of these guys are probably playing elsewhere.
So I don't know, Jeff. I put up a Twitter poll today. What is a successful season win total? And I think we talk about that later. But the public's answer to that was basically 75% are in that they need 18 to 23. You hit in that range, you're probably going to do enough for Sanchez to keep at least the fan base will be happy. Now, people say that go 18 and 12 and see if people are happy. I don't buy it. I don't believe that.
Well, depending on how the 18 and 12 comes. So
that's true.
You say, we have some very tough early season schedule. So if you get off to a slower start, because we knew we talked about when Coach Bennett was here, that we had to be patient with this year's team because it's going to take some time for those pieces to learn to play together. So if they able to gel at the right time and they finish 18 and 12 versus, so we've seen with Coach Bennett being here, we didn't see a lot of bad times in the program. But as Virginia basketball fans, we've had some bad pre-Coach Bennett. I mean, Dave Lato, good God.
Yeah, it was rough.
That was bad.
Yeah.
And there were a couple pieces there, and that's all.
Right. So let me ask you this, Jeff. Going into this year with what we know, who is your starting five?
Well, I think it's going to be Day at the point.
I agree.
McNeely, TJ Power, Elijah Saunders. And then the fifth the question is, I was reading where he said he was looking to play some small ball and potentially playing Saunders at some 5.
I think
I like Saunders at 3.
Ball, but yeah, I was going to say out in that lineup that you're naming.
I would like to see McNeely playing the 2.
Mm-hmm.
Day, McNeely, Saunders, Power, and maybe Buchanan. Because I want to see. I also would like to see who we have some size. Robinson gets some run, and
the kid from Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Carter Lang.
Yeah, I'd like to see those guys get some run. I'm excited to see Anthony Robinson, see what he can do. Just off of the rumor mills that are out there.
Right, super athlete.
Right, the athleticism there.
Yeah,
you look at a lineup like that. Saunders has been impressive from everything you read. We know McNeely's a shooter. TJ Power is supposed to be able to shoot. You have a little inside-outside with that.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how much inside game you're going to get with Power. Is everything I'm reading is he's he's a pop,
right,
pop shooter, but a great shooter,
right.
Which fits in kind of with what we do. With if you look at, some of the guys we've had, Vanderplas and the kid last year from Oklahoma. Gosh, I can't believe his name's slipping my mind at this moment.
I'm struggling too. But the 3-point shooter.
Yeah. But anyway, I could see him filling that role, hopefully in a little bit better way. And then, Blake going to be able to stand up as a 5? We're going to struggle against big. If a team has a dominant big man, that's going to be a problem for us, I think.
Well, hopefully, well, first of all, that's probably why Coach Sanchez is thinking about playing some small ball. But hopefully, we can make up some of that with Robinson's a tall guy.
Yeah, he's 6'10".
A little athleticism, even if he gets beat to the basket or something like,
And he's 6'10", 250, so it's not like he's not a twig.
Right. But and then also today, Chance Mallory, right before we recorded this, has back on the market. Yeah. Who recruited him? Wasn't Sanchez his lead recruiter?
I'm not sure. I didn't read that. He did say that Virginia was still on the table.
Right.
He's not ruling out Virginia, so it's not a total lost cause. But normally, when a kid decommits, and they say that, it's really just being nice. It would be devastating to me if he ended up at Virginia Tech. That would,
Yeah.
don't even come in the ACC. I don't want to deal with you for the next.
Ronald Curry all over.
That exactly what crossed my mind was Ronald Curry. Such a big time commit, means a lot to the community, and then and honestly, I can't fault him. When you do an interim tag at the college level, you can do interim at the professional level all day. It doesn't matter. They're paid. They don't play for a coach or come to play for a coach that can just that just retires. And they're getting paid and all those things. But in this situation, when you're a high school kid, you want to know who you're going to play for.
Right.
And when you can't say definitively, I'm going to be here, everybody's going to use that against you in recruiting. I would be shocked if we had a kid commit that is at the level that we want to get. We're in the talks with all these top 100 players. And I can't see, unless it's like, a kid like us growing up, it's like a diehard UVA fan. Their dream would be to play for UVA. And from all accounts, I think that was Mallory. Like he was around the program forever at UVA. Love Coach Bennett. I think he loves the program. So it did surprise me a little bit. But again, if Sanchez is named the head coach and it's not the interim coach, maybe he doesn't back out. I think that interim tag is scary to a lot of kids. It should be.
I'm sure it is, but I can't blame Virginia also for going interim tag, because if you are not, unless you're 100% sold that this is the guy, I know you can fire.
Well, you give him the interview like him. He's been in the program for how many years? Out of Tony's 15, he was there for 10, I think.
Right.
You know him. Either it's like have you ever had, I know you do job interviews at your position. Have you ever had a person that, and I don't know if you would have had this or not, but somebody who's trying to get a higher position? Like I had to do this at my job. So I was a 2, I was trying to go to a 3, and they made me interview for the 3, which is just a promotion. But like, I'm interviewing with my boss, who I currently work for, who knows my work ethic. He knows me. Like, you know me. This interview means nothing. Like, either think I can do the job, I've already shown you that, or you don't, and move on.
You got to put those checks in the block. I've had to do it too, but you just had to,
And I guess this year is the interview.
And that's how I feel like it is. But and also Tony Bennett threw such the wrinkle in so late in the game. Like it's just they weren't.
Yeah, the timing is off. You're not going to get somebody to leave their school.
And they just weren't prepared to deal with that. They just signed him to that extension. So
yeah, I know I'm being a little unfair, but the interim tag is going to end up costing us in recruiting.
But we already know I think the whole thing, the Tony Bennett leaving, is going to cost. It's going to cost us this year. I don't have a great feeling for the season, and I hope I'm wrong. It's just there's just so much outside noise to have to deal with. But I have been reading. They talked to Isaac McNeely that he's been running some player only meetings, and he says this is they're disappointed that Bennett's gone, but it's an opportunity for them to get even closer. And another one that's been involved in conducting these meetings, which is good news, is TJ Power, because he was one I was like, could he transfer?
Right.
But he's in there as a helping run some of these player only meetings. So
yeah, he needs to be a leader. I hope. When I listen to Sanchez's conference, he's a little bit different, and when he was talking about Power specifically, I kind of got a vibe that he wasn't like, I'm not saying he wasn't happy with his play so far, but like it was more like I think I'm gonna say this. I think Power might be struggling with the pack line. Just off of like if you go watch the interview with Sanchez when he's talking about the players specifically, and they ask him about Power. It's not like a glowing like he's going to be on the court, he's our guy. It was he's going to have an opportunity to do what he does well, and he hasn't played a lot, so he's got to kind of get up to speed because he didn't play at his former institution, which everybody knows is Duke. So obviously, but so we'll see. I'm curious to see how many minutes he gets out of the gate, and is Sanchez going to be a stickler for the pack line like Tony? Like Tony would sit you flat out. It doesn't matter if you can score. We're just not going to play you if you're a loss on the defensive side. So that it's going to be interesting to see how all these new guys, Day, Elijah, Power, Lang, all these guys have to learn the pack line. So, and communication and reps make you better. So, I don't know, man. I'm like you. I'm a little bit worried about, kind of what we're going to see early in the season. But we open with Campbell next week on November 6th. Then we got Coppin State on the 11th. Before we get that game with Villanova and Baltimore, and then Tennessee comes to Charlottesville, I believe. So you got two that you should get fairly. If you don't get those two easily, then it's probably going to be a long year.
Right.
But hopefully you gain some confidence in those two, and get off to a hot start. And this team, I think, is going to be deep. I think with nobody redshirting, I think you're going to see 9 to maybe even 11 guys playing every game.
I'm also excited to see Sharma.
Yeah. I think he'd have redshirted under Bennett.
Yeah, I do too. Hey, listen, Sanchez is putting all his cards on the table. He's trying to get the job. Redshirting's doing nothing for him to get this job.
Right.
So he's going to put all his chips on the table and try to get this job. So definitely hoping for a successful season. I know you said, what would you define as a successful season, Jay?
I'm pretty close in line with the public. I would say you got to get to 20. 19 to, I'll give you a window of 19 to 20, and anything over 19. Obviously, I think will fall in the 19 to 21. I would love to see 20 and 10 would be like, I think Tony probably gets this team to like 22, 23. So if you're in that 19 to 20 range, you're probably doing okay as a first-year head coach at the university.
I think that's a great year if we get there. You remember back in mid-90s, I don't remember the year when Coach K had his back surgery. Yeah. And they had Pete Gaudet. Coach Duke, and boy, they were awful. And all that talent that was there from Coach K, and that was the worst Duke team I ever remember on taking the court. And I don't see that here, but I do get nervous about that change happening. But on the positive, I know Sanchez, like you said, he's been with Coach Bennett, and he's got head coach experience as well as a winner, as a head coach too. So I'm personally glad that they're taking a shot with him, because I'd love to think, because it's just a Tony Bennett 2.0.
The thing is, think about movie sequels. The original comes out, everybody loves it, great movie, and then the sequel comes out, and you think, oh man, I got to see this. It's going to be great. The first one was great, and then usually the sequel flops.
It's true. That's true. This isn't a movie.
It's not a movie, but Jeff, it's
just real life.
And I believe Sanchez is his authentic self. I believe he's been molded by Coach Bennett. But Coach Bennett is the only Coach Bennett. Coach Sanchez, earlier in Bennett's tenure, when you and I would be texting during a game, it was always like I'm the pessimist. I mean, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, we're going to lose this one. But it got to a point with Tony where like every close game, we'll figure it out. We'll find a way. And most of the time we did. Sanchez doesn't have that. He don't have that street cred with me yet. He's got to win these. Because there's coaching. There's actual coaching that decides a lot of games. And I don't know. I'm not saying he can't do it. He might be better than Coach Bennett. I mean, there is that. That is in the realm of possibility. Like, it is possible. But the likelihood of that is it's not. And the likelihood is you're taking a fairly major step back with Coach Sanchez. And again, that's not a slap in his face. It just speaks to the greatness of Coach Tony Bennett. So
I agree. But I'm glad he's getting the opportunity. That in that situation, there's nobody else.
Because of the time frame.
Right?
Yeah, because of the time frame. Yeah. If he had stepped down in the spring, I would not have wanted Sanchez to get the job, just being honest. I would have said Williford or go find the next.
Williford is exactly what you're just saying.
I know, but Williford is my guy. I like
Williford too.
And not to say I don't like Sanchez, but Williford played for the university. He's put the blood, sweat, and tears and the equity in that. That just means something to me.
No, I agree. But the sequel, you're still going to the sequel.
Yes, and it may not go well.
Right.
It may not go well.
I would have been happy with either one of those guys getting the job, and then we see how it plays out. And then, of course, like you said, especially at this point, we didn't have any other choice.
Yeah. So have you looked at the schedule and come up with your predicted finish?
No, I'll have that for you. I'm not going to come up with one yet. To be honest with you, we call this a preview episode, but how the heck do you even preview this? It's hard.
Yeah, it's a lot. So
I really got to see this team play a little bit. We know what guys that were on the team last year did last year, but there's not many of those guys out there. Not many at all.
No, I mean, you're really counting on IMAC and Blake and
Tane. That's our three guys.
Maybe Tane.
They got into the rotation.
Tane's always, he'll be a rotation piece, but I don't see him as like a.
But I'm saying, as far as knowing what you're kind of getting,
sure.
I have no clue. Even with Bennett here, the only reason we'd have any kind of clue is because, as we said, Coach Bennett's always in the top 4 in ACC.
Yeah. So I went through the exercise of looking at the 30-game schedule, and I came up with 19-11 overall, 11-9 in the ACC. That would put us last year. If you had gone 11-9 in the ACC, you'd have finished in a tie for 5th with 2 other teams. So anywhere from 5th to 7th, probably be in that same realm this year. So before the year, I would, if Coach Bennett was there, I would have said the top 4 just because that's what he does. Probably 22-8, maybe 23-7. But the NCAA is going to be razor thin like last year, even with Coach Bennett. You're likely going to need an ACC tournament win or 2. And then you're likely going to be sweating it out on Selection Sunday. That's what I see for our future. Is that good enough to bring him back? I don't know. What do you think?
19-11. Yes, I think so. I think you bring him back 19-11. But once again, that I am saying, though, that depends on how that 19-11 looks.
Yeah. Well, what if it's 11-9 in the ACC?
Where's 11-9 going to put you in the ACC? 7th?
That's what I said. 5th to 7th based off last year.
I don't know what Carla's going to do with her own self. So
right. I don't even know if Carla will be the one making the decision. Tony Bennett might be making the decision by then.
Yeah, he might be the AD.
Right. So, man, it's a lot. It's a lot. But hey, the good news is, Jeff, we started getting answers next week.
That's right. I know it's exciting. I can't wait. So
Yeah,
game 1 is November 6th, which is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Wednesday, next Wednesday?
next Wednesday. Yep.
Giddy up.
I've got a media credential request in. We'll see if it gets honored. I don't know if you're going to put in for that or not, but I'm going to be there if they'll have me.
You could be there, period.
Well, I could, but I'd love to be sitting in the media credential section 107 for. And I just want to be at the press conference with Coach Sanchez and, be able to ask some questions or a question potentially if that is presented.
Listen, coaches, when Jay gets into that press room, be prepared. He's gonna have some questions ready for you. He ain't gonna I don't know the right word to say, like yours truly, as Johnny D says, who ain't asking a dang thing. I've only been in the media room for 2 big L's, and that one on Saturday in the football game was funeral like. Jack is a veteran in the room now. He gets to hand up every week.
Is that how it works? Like for people that don't go, I've never been in there yet, even though I had the media pass. I didn't get to cover the conference. So is that how it goes? You raise your hand and they call on you?
Yeah. So for football, you got Scott in there who calls on, and there's veterans in there. And so, they always get
they get called on first.
Right ahead. And then but this past week, Jack got called on pretty early, actually.
Yeah.
And so they have a staff member in there who will take the microphone to you. And so I know Jack had his hand up on Saturday, and Scott looked at the staff member, hit him with a head nod, and he handed Jack the mic. So, but
that's awesome.
Good
it
on
Jack.
Jack.
The curtain a little bit for people, just the inner workings.
And then for football, there's no locker room access. They bring players in, and so they brought in J.R. Wilson, and then Jack said the last
Tyler
one
Neville was in there. I know.
Yeah, the last time they brought them all in at one time. But this time it was like one, and then another one came in after a couple minutes. So then there's multiple people going at the same time. But they brought in J.R. Wilson, Tyler Neville, Corey Thomas. And then you just kind of maneuver around. The veterans, they know what to do.
Yeah.
The Jeff is sitting there just soaking it in and
just enjoying being there.
Yeah, I'm just in there thanking God for the opportunity, as Jaden Daniels did after the Hail Mary.
That's right.
All I can do is give all glory to God for that, for giving me that opportunity to be there. So
that's right.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait for the game on Wednesday night. We don't have football this weekend, so something to look forward to. And I can't wait
our
for the
basketball team plays before our football team plays.
Yes. And I can't wait to see how this pans out. I'm excited. All these new pieces, and it's a new coach. And I know they says everything's going to look the same, but I'd like to see what changes may happen. There's something's going to change. The offense has to change a little bit. Kyle guys involved, and to go along with the usual suspects. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yep.
I don't feel overly optimistic, but I'm optimistic we can be solid. So
yeah.
All right. Well, we'll check in with you guys next week, and hopefully we'll have something nice to talk about after the first basketball game. Don't lose the camera.
I want to say this real quick. Tesla's been doing outstanding, but if you're concerned about the market, like I'm a little concerned. Election's coming up next week. Getting closer to that retirement age. You might want to consider getting the gold back to IRA. If that's
How
you,
can you get that?
Well, if that's you, it's very simple. You just go to the website, www.cavaliergold.com. Cavaliergold.com. The good people at Genesis Gold will be more than happy to talk to you. If you call them, tell them the Cavalier Connection sent you. to them. And again, nothing is better than an IRA backed with gold. Safer. Nothing is safer.
Sounds good. Well, we'll see you guys next week.